I opened my eyes and took in the familiar room, the bedroom my mom had arranged with her own hands in my previous life. I lifted my hand and saw slender, fair fingers, the well-kept hands of someone raised in comfort, hands that had never done housework, nothing like the ones from before that had been caught in a car door and scalded by hot water. I really had been reborn. I flipped back the covers and had just stepped out of the bedroom when a sharp voice cut in. "What's wrong with you? Smashing things first thing in the morning? Do you really think this is your house?" It was Aunt Lucy. I went downstairs and saw Aunt Lucy holding the arm of Mary, Emily's mother. Mary shrank back and stammered, I didn't mean to." I put on a well-behaved smile. "Aunt Mary, what brings you here? Where's Emily?" Mary looked up at me, stunned for a moment. I asked again, "Where did Emily go?" I thought for a second. Right, back then in my previous life, I hadn't broken up with Nathan yet, and Emily was already close to getting involved with him. I was even foolish enough to speak up for her in front of my mom. Mary answered awkwardly, "Emily went to class. It was the weekend. What class could there be?" I didn't call her out. Instead, "Did you come to see me? What's going on?" Mary stared at me in surprise. In my past life, whenever she came, I would secretly give her money and never ask a thing. But with Aunt Lucy standing there, she didn't dare say more. When I pressed her, she muttered nervously, "No, nothing. It's fine." "Aunt Lucy, I need to go out for a bit. If my mom comes back, please tell her," I said. Aunt Lucy nodded. "Okay, Claire, be careful." Then, I smiled at the two of them. Emily was my eldest uncle's daughter. My uncle's business failed, he fell deep into debt, and in the end, unable to repay, he took his own life. After he died, my mom, for my dad's sake, paid to acquire the small factory he left behind. Mary used the money from selling that factory to pay off the debts. After more than 10 years of my mom's effort, that little factory grew into what is now Sterling Group. In my previous life, Nathan and I were childhood sweethearts. Both families took it for granted we would marry. Seeing me as young and gullible, Mary often took money from me. Then Emily stole my fiancé. She told Nathan how much she envied my talent for painting, and Nathan sent people to ruin my hands. He stole my work and submitted it under Emily's name, winning a major award that shot her to fame overnight. Mary twisted the truth in front of Nathan, claiming my mom had seized the factory my uncle left, which was why she and her daughter were destitute. My mom fell gravely ill. I couldn't stand up to the ruthless tactics of the Grant family. When I confronted them, I finally understood they didn't want me at all. They wanted the chair of Sterling. Anyone could fill that seat, and Emily made Sterling easier to control. In the end, it all still went to Nathan. After my mom passed away, I used the last of the money she left to try to hire someone to help me take revenge. My reckless plan was seen through by Nathan. He didn't call the police. Instead, he had me sent to a psychiatric hospital, where I was ultimately killed by a deranged patient. Remembering how Emily and Nathan first met in my past life, I went to the cafe next to the restaurant where Emily worked part-time. I hadn't waited long before I saw her pedal up on a bicycle, looking anxious. Suddenly, an unleashed dog darted out. Emily panicked and fell, and her bike scraped a parked car. I glanced at the license plate. Sure enough, it was Nathan's car. The dog was clearly startled too. Its owner ran over, scooped up his dog, crooning, "Sweetheart," to it while pointing at Emily, scolding her for not watching the road and demanding compensation for emotional distress. Just as Emily's eyes filled with aggrieved tears and she was about to argue back, the car door opened and Nathan stepped out. He looked at the scratch on his car, then turned to the dog's owner and said something. Seeing that Nathan was clearly wealthy, the dog's owner hesitated, unwilling. The man cursed under his breath and walked away. Nathan turned to Emily, tapped her on the head and said, "Are you an idiot? Someone scolds you and you don't even know how to talk back?" Emily wiped her tears in embarrassment, then apologized. "I'm sorry, I scratched your car. How much is it?" "I'll pay you." She glanced at her phone and suddenly cried out, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm late for my shift. This is my contact info. Make sure you reach me." Flustered, she dug through her bag, pulled out a pen and scrap of paper, scribbled her number, shoved it into Nathan's hand, and ran off. Nathan looked at her retreating figure, gave a small smile, and then drove away. I glanced at my phone. The moment Nathan tapped Emily on the head, I had caught it on camera. Not only that, but I had it as a video. One day, as I sat in the living room, Mary came again. She didn't expect my mom to be home and quickly turned to leave, but I called out, "Aunt Mary, are you here to ask me for money again?" "Sorry, I forgot yesterday." I smiled at her sweetly. Mary stammered, "No, Claire, that's not it," though her eyes flickered toward my mom. "I just came to check on you. I don't want your money." "Since you don't need it," my mom said suddenly, "then return everything you borrowed before. Claire, text Emily and ask her to come too." I sent the message and told her, "Emily will be here soon." Emily rushed in, grabbed Mary's hand, and said, "Mom, why are you here asking for money again? I told you, I can take care of you." Then she turned toward my mom. "Auntie, I'm sorry, I won't let my mom come bother you again." My mom set down the newspaper in her hands and looked at them calmly. "Don't talk about the future. Let's settle the accounts now. I already called a lawyer, so you can't say later that I bullied a widow and her daughter." When the lawyer arrived, he immediately began the calculations. Mary shifted uneasily, waiting. "Is it done?" my mom asked. "Yes, Chairwoman. The total is $329,300. Mary was stunned. How could it be that much? "Emily, you're still in school." Then she turned to my mom and pleaded, "Claire is your niece. Can't you? You're a sophomore in college now," my mom said to Emily. "I won't charge you interest. Before you graduate, you'll repay $1,500 every month. The rest must be cleared within 10 years after graduation." "Mom, that's too much. We don't even need that money. Why don't you just let it go?" I said softly, tugging on her sleeve, pretending to be sympathetic. My mom pulled her sleeve back without hesitation and ignored me. "Claire may be young and naive, but I'm not foolish. Sign the contract. From now on, you'll repay on time every month." Emily took the contract, signed her name with determination, and said stubbornly, "I'll pay it back in full." The next day at school, I went in earlier than usual. Nathan called me. "Claire, why didn't you wait for me to go to school together?" "I had something to do, so I left first," I answered, feigning casualness. "Did you stop by my house?" "Yeah," he said. I pressed on, pretending not to know. It's fine, I'll come pick you up after class this afternoon." "Okay, I'll wait for you." That afternoon I was already waiting at the school gate. Today would be the second time Nathan and Emily met. I needed to catch the evidence. Standing by a tree, I watched Emily ride her bike straight into Nathan's car. She fell hard, the scrape on her knee from yesterday tearing open again. Nathan got out of the car, saw her, and chuckled. "It's you again. You still haven't paid me for the car repairs. Are you trying to scam me? How much? Just tell me." Emily looked up at him, pouting stubbornly. She struggled to stand and pulled out her phone. Seeing this, Nathan suddenly scooped her up in his arms and set her in the passenger seat. Emily slapped at his shoulder. "What are you doing? Put me down." "I'm taking you to the infirmary," he said firmly. "Why push yourself like this? You're a girl. Don't try to act tough." "But I still have to get to my part-time job," she protested. Emily was already about to be late. In order to pay back the debt, she had taken on yet another part-time job. Nathan tapped her lightly on the head while she sat in the passenger seat, his tone full of indulgence. "Take the day off." Then with a thud, he shut the car door and drove off, never once noticing me standing on the side of the road. On my way home, I got a call from Nathan. "Sorry, Claire, something came up at the last minute. I can't pick you up." "It's fine, you're busy. I'll have the family driver come get me," I replied calmly. After that day, Nathan asked me out several times, but I turned him down. When I hung up on another of his dinner invitations, my mom, sitting on the sofa, asked, "What's going on with you lately? Don't you like him anymore? You used to be crazy about him when you were little." Who hasn't been blind before? I curled my lip. Now I'm back to normal. If I don't like him, then I'll break up. Our family doesn't need me to marry for business ties. My mom chuckled. I smiled and said, "Mom, you're the best." "You little rascal, are you hiding something from me?" she asked, eyeing me closely. I looked away. "No, of course not. You can't hide things from me. I can see right through you." She put her phone down, crossed her arms, and stared. I hesitated, but then decided to tell her everything about my past life. When I finished, her eyes reddened. She pulled me into her arms, biting back her anger. The Grant family and that Mary with her daughter. What a pair. She asked, that boy Nathan, is he already tangled up with Emily? Almost, I admitted. Then you need to break up with him. Do it now. I sat up straight and shook my head. No, not yet. The time isn't right. You fool, you're gonna get yourself burned. She pushed a finger against my forehead. I won't, Mom. Leave the Grant family to me. I clung to her arm, speaking playfully. She stroked my hair gently, and I leaned on her shoulder, savoring the warmth of motherly love I had longed for. After ignoring Nathan for a week, I finally asked him to dinner. At the restaurant, he kept apologizing. I'm sorry, Claire, I didn't mean to stand you up. I lowered my head, chewing the creamy mushroom soup in silence. Nathan cut my steak and placed it in front of me. Don't be mad anymore, Claire. I really did have an emergency. You weren't like this before. I looked up, eyes wet. Before? Nathan, you never used to stand me up so often. I wiped at the corner of my eye. If you've fallen for someone else, just tell me. I'll step aside. Nathan panicked. No, that's not it. I didn't mean. He reached over to wipe my tears. Don't cry, it's my fault. I turned my head stubbornly, wiping my own face. If this happens again, we're done. Relief washed over him. He grabbed my hand on the table. Thank you, Claire. You're so good to me. I promise there won't be a next time. Forcing down the disgust, I didn't pull away. Instead, I gave him a faint smile. Out of the corner of my eye, I sensed someone staring. Casually turning, I saw Emily serving food to a nearby table, her eyes brimming with envy as she watched us. You eat first. I'm going to the restroom. I excused myself and slipped away. In my previous life, this was the moment Emily, clumsy as ever, had offended a customer by spilling drinks. The customer demanded the manager fire her. After Mary found out, she secretly went to Nathan for help, and he had stepped in to resolve it. This time, I had deliberately chosen this restaurant, setting up the chance for him to play the hero again. Sure enough, not long after I left my seat, I heard a commotion. What's wrong with you? A customer shouted angrily. Emily had clumsily spilled a drink all over him. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, she stammered, head down, fumbling for napkins to wipe him off. The man snatched the napkins from her hand and shoved her aside. What kind of restaurant is this? How could they hire someone like you? The customer snapped. I didn't mean it, but I already apologized, Emily said, lifting her head and trying to straighten her back. Oh, so with that attitude, you mean this is my fault? The customer shoved her, making her stumble. The commotion drew Nathan's attention. As he turned his head, Emily lifted her face. His gaze narrowed, and the next moment he stood and walked over to her. When Emily saw him, she let out a small breath of relief, as if she'd found her protector. The restaurant manager, who had been keeping an eye on the scene, rushed over in alarm. Mr. Grant, what happened here? Nathan ignored the man and leaned toward Emily. What's going on? The customer, Mr. Yang, immediately started to explain, but Nathan cut him off. I wasn't asking you, I'm asking her. Tell me what happened. Emily softly explained everything and finally added in a small, aggrieved voice, I already apologized. Without another word, Nathan ordered the manager to throw the customer out. Emily looked at him with teary gratitude and adoration. I pulled out my phone, logged into my account, and uploaded the video I had just recorded. Then, with a look of feigned innocence, I walked over. I slipped my arm through Nathan's. Are you finished eating? Let's go. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Emily lower her head the moment she noticed me. Emily, you're here too? Are you still on shift? I asked. Before she could reply, Nathan said quickly, I just happened to see her, so I said hello. I see. Well, since Emily's still working, let's go. I smiled sweetly. Nathan nodded. I turned back to Emily with a polite smile. We'll be leaving then. And with that, I pulled Nathan out of the restaurant, deliberately pretending not to notice how many times he glanced back. That summer afternoon, students on campus strolled in groups of 2s and 3s, chatting animatedly. Did you check the forum? Yeah, I saw. Nathan saved a girl. Do you know who she was? Who? Some random? He was just being kind. No, that was his girlfriend's cousin. Look at the way they looked at each other. Are you sure it was innocent? Wait, so Emily is hitting on her cousin's boyfriend? Honestly, I don't think Nathan is all that uninterested either. Emily felt the unfriendly stares from classmates around her and hurriedly opened the forum. She hadn't even finished reading the first post before another appeared. Photos from the day she crashed into Nathan's car. Look, isn't that Emily too? Not necessarily. Nathan wouldn't let just any girl sit in his car. Exactly. Claire is much prettier than Emily, and she's the daughter of Sterling Group. Nathan would have to be blind not to choose Claire. Listening to the voices around me, I knew they were talking about the posts I'd arranged to have uploaded. Sure enough, not long after, Nathan messaged me. I switched off my phone and went straight home after class. One day, after finishing a major course, I came out to see Nathan waiting at the door. He was looking down at his phone, fingers moving quickly, as if sending someone a message. Then he walked toward me. Claire, are you mad at me? No. Then why didn't you reply to my messages yesterday? My phone was on silent, I said, staring at his face. Then I asked, last time when you didn't come to pick me up, did you go see Emily instead? Nathan answered, I accidentally ran into her, so I took her to the infirmary. We walked together toward the cafeteria. Halfway there, we ran into Emily. As if to reassure me, Nathan pretended not to see her and just held my hand as we passed, leaving her standing frozen behind us. Look, Nathan waited all morning just for Claire. That's true love. No way he'd give her up for someone else. Hearing these comments, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. In my previous life, people had insisted that the one unloved was the real third wheel, that Emily was Nathan's true love, that true love conquers all. After dinner, Nathan went to buy me some water. I glanced at the time, slung my bag over my shoulder and followed him. At the vending machine, there was only one bottle of mineral water left. 2 hands pressed the button at the same time. Emily turned her head and saw. Nathan froze for a second, then smirked lazily. You again. With quick reflexes, he bought the last bottle of water. I pressed first. Emily protested, reaching on tiptoe to grab the bottle Nathan was holding high above her head. He deliberately teased her, stepping back a few paces. Neither of them knew who stumbled first, but the bottle slipped, and in the next moment, both of them tumbled to the ground. It was lunchtime, students were everywhere, and soon all eyes turned toward the commotion. All anyone saw was a boy and a girl falling together. Worse, they landed in an embrace, lips accidentally brushing against each other. I gritted my teeth so hard it hurt just to watch. The very next moment, Emily flushed crimson and shoved Nathan away. Nathan sat up, ready to joke, but when he realized how many people were staring, his smile stiffened. Feeling the charged atmosphere, my eyes welled up. I looked at the two of them with a grieved sorrow. When Nathan noticed me, his gaze shifted immediately. He scrambled up. Claire. Before he could finish, I turned, lifted my foot, and walked away. He chased after me, but I yanked my hand free and gave him one wounded look before running off. Outside the cafeteria, voices erupted. Not long after, the campus forum blew up. At home in the villa, I sat cross-legged in the living room and declined a call from Nathan's mother. Clearly, she had already heard about what happened. Soon after, Mary came by. She spoke timidly. Claire, he told me it was just an accident. None of it was real. Fake? You mean Emily wasn't trying to steal my boyfriend? I looked at the two of them coldly. I was even thinking, if Emily really liked Nathan, maybe I'd let her have him. But since you say it was fake, then I'll believe Nathan. Mary and Emily raised their heads quickly. I didn't. What's wrong? Didn't you just say Emily doesn't like Nathan? I smiled faintly. I've decided to forgive him. The next day, the moment I reached the teaching building, I saw Nathan waiting at the entrance with a large bouquet of roses. Emily was also walking toward the same spot. For a second, I thought I was reliving the past. Nathan holding roses at the classroom door, except back then it was to apologize to Emily after a fight. Nathan started toward me. I looked at him with watery eyes, full of grievance, and stepped back to avoid his hug. At that very moment, I caught Emily's frosty expression. No way. Does anyone really think they can win against Claire? Someone whispered nearby. See? That's real love. Who would be foolish enough to make a move on Nathan when Claire is right here? I clasped Nathan's hand and turned to Emily. I believe you two are innocent. I forgive you. What? Claire is way too naive. She actually believes that? Who doesn't know? People only dare to act shameless and go after someone else's boyfriend because they think the heiress is too trusting. I heard the murmurs around me, then smiled gently at Emily. They don't mean any harm. Don't take it to heart. Emily froze. In my past life, I defended her from campus bullying. Soon enough, she became friends with those very people and told me they weren't malicious, just blunt. I'm leaving. I still have class, I said, tugging Nathan with me into the classroom. I logged into the forum and left a comment under the heated thread. I believe in my boyfriend and my cousin. They won't betray me. Thank you all for your concern. That afternoon, heavy rain poured down. Emily carried an umbrella and struggled with props for the class activity. Distracted, she slipped and fell. A group of students gathered around, one girl tugging at her hair. Did you really think you could snag Nathan? Look in a mirror. How can you even compare to Claire? Some people are like toads wanting swan meat, don't even know their place. Suddenly, the crowd parted. Nathan strode forward, pulled Emily up, and just as her legs gave out, she collapsed into his arms. What are you all doing? His voice cut through the air. She's still a person. Don't let me catch you pulling this again. The group of girls stepped back in unison. I stood in the middle of the crowd, clutching my umbrella. My thin frame trembled slightly, as if I might collapse at any moment. Tears slipped from my eyes one by one, falling like I had suffered the greatest humiliation. Nathan never noticed me at all. Once I was sure someone had captured the scene of me crying on camera, I let myself appear utterly crushed and walked away in despair. The entire campus exploded with gossip again. Whispers spread like wildfire. I messaged my mom, asking her to help me buy a trending spot online. Soon the headlines read, "Breaking, heir apparent of the Grant family suspected of cheating," and "Scandal, caught seducing his girlfriend's cousin, twisted morality, or complete collapse of ethics." I then arranged for people to fire Mary and Emily from every job they had, using the Grant family's name as the excuse. Looking down at the incoming calls and apologetic messages from Nathan on my phone, I ignored them all. "Claire, young Master Grant is waiting outside," Aunt Lucy whispered as she walked in. "Don't bother with him," I replied lightly. That night, around midnight, I pulled open my bedroom curtains and saw his shadow lingering at the gate. For some reason, that sight let me sleep soundly through the night. The next morning, when I left for school, Nathan was gone. But at the campus gates, he appeared, haggard and worn, blocking my path. Students quickly gathered nearby, whispering and watching like an audience waiting for drama. I looked at him calmly. "Nathan, let's break up." "Claire, listen to me. Let me explain." I spoke with wounded resignation. "Explain what? That you don't actually like Emily? That yesterday you didn't mean to leave me behind?" "That's not it. It's not like that. Just listen," he stammered, anxious. But I pressed on, my voice trembling. "I've seen what it looks like when you loved me, Nathan. That's how I know now. The one you like is Emily." My words grew weaker, sadder, until I finally turned my head. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted Emily hiding among the crowd. I pulled her forward, setting her right in front of him. With a sorrowful but unyielding voice, I said, "Nathan, we're done. I'll give you two my blessing." Without waiting for a response, I turned and walked away. I hadn't expected it to go so smoothly. After our breakup, Nathan tried multiple times to win me back, even begged for reconciliation. But after my mom unleashed her fury on him, and his mother came pleading on his behalf only to further anger her, my mom cut off several collaborations with the Grant family. Only then did they finally quiet down. From my mom, I later learned that Nathan had been punished under the family's strict disciplinary rules. The Grants were in the middle of fierce internal struggles, and Nathan wasn't the only heir. Thanks to Sterling's support and my connection, he had managed to hold on to his position as the designated successor. Now that I had broken up with him, his footing was no longer secure. The Grants lost several key clients, their funding chain fractured, and the company's internal unity began to splinter. Though Nathan claimed he'd cut ties with Emily, in truth, their relationship was murky, neither ending nor becoming official. Because of his role in the family rivalry, Nathan had made many enemies. Once he lost influence, people were eager to step on him. Eventually, he was set up and suffered a car accident, leaving his leg badly injured and requiring a long recovery. Nathan was once a top racing talent. Though the family no longer favored him, he was still young, and as a man, he might rise again someday. But all of that had nothing to do with me anymore. I poured my focus into preparing for the upcoming original oil painting competition. In my previous life, that very contest was when Nathan told me, "You don't need fame or prize money, but Emily does. Give her this chance." When I refused, he helped Emily steal my paintings, locked me up, and kept me from attending. Emily took my work, competed under her name, and became famous overnight. Meanwhile, in my desperate attempt to escape, I slammed my hand in a heavy iron gate, crushing the bones and leaving it gravely injured. I could never pick up a paintbrush again. Deep down, I had always believed that if Emily focused on her own field and worked hard, she would eventually achieve success in her own right. The day before the submission deadline, I had already turned in my entry. That evening, Mary came knocking once again, this time dragging Emily along. I had deliberately given the housekeeper the night off, so it was just the three of us. Leaning back in my chair, I looked at them calmly. "Mary, Emily, what brings you here this time?" Mary rubbed her hands nervously. "Claire, Emily came to apologize." "I don't need an apology. I've already let Nathan go to her." I never asked you to let him go," Emily said, forcing herself to her feet. I laughed lightly. "What? Was someone holding your heads down, forcing you to kiss?" Mary tugged at Emily's hand. "If you came here just to talk about that, then there's no need for forgiveness," I said with a sweet, obedient smile. "Actually, Claire, this time we came because of Emily. She's entering an oil painting competition, but she's missing some supplies." "Oh, I see." I stood up. "So you're here to borrow tools. Fine, come with me." I led them into my studio. My own entry piece stood boldly in full view. "Emily, take a look. If you're missing anything, find it yourself." Her expression was a mix of stubborn pride and humiliation. Inwardly, I sneered. They need me, yet still look down on me, wanting it both ways. My phone rang. It was my mom. "Look for what you need on your own," I said. "Help yourselves." Mary bobbed her head quickly. "Thank you, Claire. Thank you." As I left, I brushed against the computer, swiveling it slightly so the screen faced Emily. On the monitor, the competition submission portal was open. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Emily's fingers twitch. The day of the finals arrived. The organizers were prestigious, the sponsors wealthy, reporters filled the room, and the entire event was streamed live online. Stepping out of the car, I linked my arm with my mom's. Flashes burst around us as we smiled and walked into the venue. Bored, I sat down in my seat. Emily sat beside me. "Claire, who do you think will win the championship this time?" "Definitely not you," I replied with a small laugh. Emily's face stiffened. "I didn't say that. There are so many talented artists here. Who knows who will win?" Before I could respond, the lights dimmed. The awards began, starting with honorable mentions, then third place. Neither of our names were called. Emily relaxed slightly beside me, her confidence showing. Finally, the host drew out the suspense for the grand prize. "And the champion of this year's competition is..." He paused dramatically. Emily leaned in close to my ear. "Cousin, sorry, but the championship is mine." She lifted her chin and prepared to rise with a perfectly practiced smile. "And the champion is Claire Sterling, creator of Resonance," the host announced. The spotlight landed on me, but also illuminated Emily's half-risen body and frozen smile. Her triumphant pose, stuck midair, looked utterly ridiculous. I smoothed my skirt and leaned toward her. "Didn't I say? Definitely not you." Then, step by step, I walked onto the stage amid thunderous applause. "Congratulations, Miss Sterling," the host said. "Thank you." I accepted the trophy from his hands. Just as the host declared the competition officially over, Emily suddenly snapped. "No, this is impossible. The judges must have made a mistake." Gasps rippled through the audience. Everyone turned to stare at her outburst. From the panel, a distinguished elder artist frowned. "Young lady, are you questioning the professional judgment of us old men?" "No, but how could the champion be her? I clearly... Emily stammered, unable to string her words together. As she floundered, I calmly handed a USB drive to the host. I leaned in and whispered a few words to the host. His eyes widened slightly, and after confirming with one of the judges, he nodded. At the judge's signal, the host inserted my USB into the computer connected to the big screen. "Emily, are you saying the championship should have been yours?" I asked, my gaze sharp. "Yes," she shot back, her voice trembling with outrage. "On what grounds?" I sneered. "Because of this painting? I took the painting from the host's hands. It was unmistakably the one I had created, my piece, Release. Emily rushed onto the stage, her voice rising. I submitted it first. How could the championship go to her? She copied it. But our works are completely different, I countered coldly. How exactly did I plagiarize? I abruptly turned the canvas in my hands, revealing the other side. The camera zoomed in, displaying both paintings side by side. Murmurs rippled through the audience. The reporters' cameras clicked frantically. Then, through the speakers, a recording began to play. Emily's and Mary's voices. The big screen lit up with footage from the surveillance in my art studio. Emily, this isn't right. What if someone finds out? Mary tugged at her daughter's hand. It's fine. Claire doesn't need this chance, but I do. No one will notice. I'll imitate one piece and put it back when I return the tools, Emily replied. The video showed Emily deleting my registration information and taking countless photos of my entry. Claire, you set me up, Emily gasped, as if only then realizing the trap she had fallen into. Tears welled in my eyes. Sister, how could you think of me that way? You deleted my registration, stole my work, and I stayed silent for your reputation. If you hadn't spoken up here today, I wouldn't have exposed you. I wiped the corners of my eyes. Emily collapsed to the ground, terrified. She knew she was finished, not only blacklisted from the art world, but also facing school disciplinary action, possibly even expulsion, for plagiarism and sabotage. I crushed away her tears and pressed my face into her neck. To outsiders, it looked like I was comforting her. In truth, I whispered, this is exactly what you deserve. Then I clutched my trophy and threw myself into my mother's arms. Normally, professional award ceremonies like this didn't attract much attention. But thanks to Emily's disgrace, the live stream drew in a flood of onlookers. Soon the story hit trending searches. Not only was Emily exposed as my cousin, but also her entanglement with Nathan was dragged into the light. Her greed, her duplicity. Later, I submitted a letter of leniency to the school. In the end, Emily was only given a probationary punishment. But this time, when the pointing and whispering came, Nathan wasn't there to shield her. Both she and Mary lost all of their jobs. Nathan saw the trending news and reached out to me. Claire, can we meet? Sure, I said lightly, arriving late on purpose. Sorry I'm late. I sat across from him. He gave me a smile. It's fine, I just got here myself. I saw everything about the competition, he began. And? I asked, expressionless. Nathan's hands clenched on his knees. Claire, there's nothing between me and her. That was all just an accident. Is there really no chance for us? I studied his eyes, marveling inwardly at how shameless he could be. Finally I said, Nathan, do you remember when you confessed to me? My gaze softened as I looked out the window, as if lost in fond memories. That time you won a racing championship, holding your trophy, you said every future victory would be another confession to me. I gave him a gentle smile. Win another trophy and confess again, then I'll forgive you. Nathan's face lit up with joy. You mean it? I do. You can't take it back. Just wait for me. After that, he threw himself into training. He hadn't raced in a long time, not since his car accident left his leg still unhealed. But determined to win the upcoming race in 2 weeks, he trained desperately. As the competition drew near, he messaged me. Claire, promise me you'll come watch. I'll be there, I replied. On race day, I wore the same dress I'd worn when he first confessed to me. When Nathan saw me, he walked over quickly. I'll definitely win. I smiled brightly at him. The Grant family was already in decline, and now Nathan dared to show up at a racing event. Naturally, there were people who couldn't stand him, waiting to stir up trouble. Why is young Master Grant still racing? Someone jeered from the sidelines. Your little girlfriend's family is already being ruined by the Grants, and you still have the heart to play around? Nathan's head snapped toward him. What did you just say? No way, right? Young Master Grant can't be that heartless. The man smirked and shoved his phone toward him. On the screen was a headline, of course, completely fake. But Nathan's concentration wavered. The race began soon after. Though his background gave him natural prestige, that didn't stop competitors from fighting hard against him. Nathan led in the first laps, but on the final turn pain flared in his old injury, and the false news gnawed at his focus. His car veered off the track and slammed into the wall. Gasps erupted. Faces turned pale, people shot to their feet. I, however, sat with a cool expression, not the least bit anxious. Outside the operating room at the hospital, I leaned against the wall. The Grant family arrived in droves, Nathan's mother glaring at me. "Claire, why are you here too?" I smiled faintly. Nathan invited me to watch the race. When the nurse emerged, she delivered the news. Nathan needed an amputation. Mrs. Grant swayed, then collapsed on the spot. Mr. Grant gritted his teeth and signed the consent form. I watched the whole farce unfold and exhaled softly. Later, when Nathan woke, I came to his hospital room. The family wasn't there, only a caretaker. Nathan dismissed him the moment he saw me. I stood by his bed, his eyes were cold and sharp. "This was your doing. You lost control on your own," I answered evenly. "Claire Sterling, you're ruthless." I met his furious stare calmly. "Hurts, doesn't it? I was in even more pain once." I sat down in the chair. "Nathan, you liked Emily. You wanted her to win that competition. What did that have to do with me? Why did you have to destroy me?" His expression twisted in confusion and rage as I laid out every detail of our past life. "You're insane," he shouted, half hysterical. I looked at him without pity. "Enjoy it. This is exactly what you deserve." When I stepped out, Emily was hovering by the door, wanting to speak. I brushed past her without a glance. She slipped into the room, only for Nathan's furious roar to echo out, "Get out!" A loud crash followed. While Nathan was hospitalized, my mom quietly sabotaged several of the Grant family's projects. Shareholders began dumping their stock. Inside the company, opportunists seized the chance to buy shares cheaply. Several veteran employees were poached, factories halted production, and the new management made disastrous decisions. Skilled foremen left in waves. Suppliers pressed for overdue payments. The Grant family's capital chain broke completely. Their stock hit the limit down. Forced to liquidate, they sold off industries at rock-bottom prices. My mom, along with her allies, divided the spoils. On the day of the contract signing, I represented her. The Grant family looked up and understood everything. Mrs. Grant sprang to her feet, her eyes burning with rage. "Claire, when you were with Nathan, did we treat you poorly?" I met their furious gazes. In my past life, when they had helped Emily steal everything from me, I had looked at them with the same anger and incomprehension. The contract slid to the old patriarch. As he signed, Nathan glared at me. "If you have a grudge, take it out on me. Why do you have to be so ruthless?" "None of you are innocent," I said coolly. When the lawyer packed away the documents, I turned and walked out, my steps steady. Behind me, chaos erupted, like the sound of a crumbling skyscraper.